Everyone, today I want to talk to you about how to concatenate MP4 video files. Now MP4 is a type of container for the video and audio streams. It does reflect the format, the MPEG-4 format, which of course there are multiple revisions of. There is the original MPEG-4, I think it's version 4, I forget what it's called, and then there is of course the H.264 format, also known as AVC, Advanced Video Compression, I think. Don't quote me on that, you can always go to Wikipedia and read about it. But in any case, I often end up with multiple MP4 files that I want to concatenate into one single video, and I know of a couple of methods. I'm sure there are multiple methods how to do it, but I will demonstrate to you the one method that I use, and we will also attempt another method that I don't remember if I attempted it in the past, but we will we'll attempt it in this video. So I have some recordings, and you see these three files right here I recorded on Linux with the screen capturing program on Linux, and these three are recordings I did on Windows with an application called Bandicam. I'm doing this in Windows 10, but what I am going to talk about is applicable to Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 7, and I'm sure Windows Vista and Windows XP even. And then I don't imagine anybody runs Windows 2000 anymore, because there's just no support for it, whatsoever. So, but let's play with these files because they're smaller in size than the Windows ones. And also the Windows ones, the two first files are corrupt, so I'm running a task in the background trying to repair them. So first of all, what I'm going to do is, you see there's the prefix of Voco Screen, which is the name of the application in Linux, the date and the timestamp, and so in this listing they're ordered. But I'm going to go ahead and rename these files just so that it's easier to type them in the command line when we work with them. So I'll say Voco Screen 1, and then Voco Screen 2, and Voco Screen 3. We could even shorten them even more. I mean, it's up to you. Or you could use the full names, as long as they don't have spaces. Replace the spaces with underscores or something like that, because command line often requires that you either escape, use the backslash to escape the space. Of course, that's on Linux. I don't know, I don't remember right now off the top of my head how do you escape a space on Windows, but I think on Windows you mainly enclose the path plus the file name into double quotes, and that's a little bit of a pain. So if you make sure that the file name doesn't have spaces or special characters in it, then it's easier to work with them on the command line. If you have spaces or special characters, then you have to escape those. So we've got these three files, and we want to combine them together into one file. And so you can see the first one is just 53 seconds, then the other one is 42 minutes almost, and 18 minutes. So the first method is to use a program called MP4Box, and the way you obtain it is, it's also known, it's not a package of its own, it's part of a distribution called gpac. So we can search for gpac, and Google suggests we type in MP4Box as well, so we'll do that, and that should take us to the page. I think the domain name is France, if I remember correctly. So yeah, you see it's gpac.wp.imt.fr. cmd.exe.wp.imt.fr. In fact, let me open WordPad. Actually, I'll use it through the search here. Okay, Windows is a little bit sluggish when I'm doing recording, so the browser is still spinning its wheel. Come on, give me a search box. There we go. Okay, so if we type, now I forgot what I was gonna search for. Oh, I was gonna search for WordPad. Okay, and now it's not typing. Okay, let's try it again. WordPad. Okay, here we go. So Windows should give us suggestions. And it will be also good for me to save whatever URLs and whatever commands that I'm using, so that I can include it in the video description on YouTube. Windows is being really uncooperative here. Oh, it actually opened up WordPad for me already. Okay, so let's bump up the font to... Okay, come on Windows, you can do it. It could be that background task that I'm running is also affecting, although I changed its priority to low priority. But let's bump it up to as much as 36. That should be fine, and we can make it bold. So there's the WordPad. And you see, because we included MP4Box in the link, it gives us the URL with MP4Box in the link. But let's go ahead and open it and have a look. I've already installed gpac on this computer, so I'm not going to demonstrate how to install it, but the installer is just straightforward, just a normal program installation. But I will show you a necessary step to make MP4Box available in the path, so that when you open the command line you can immediately go to MP4Box. Yeah, Windows is having a hard time with recording the video and performing actions at the same time. But MP4Box, as I believe, is not downloadable by itself. It's part of this gpac package. But I will go ahead and copy the URL while Windows is thinking. So I'm going to copy the URL and paste it into the WordPad. Oh, it pasted it as a URL. Let's can we do a simpler paste? Paste special. There we go. Unformatted text. No, it's still okay, and it switched and it switched from Calibri to yeah, because see, right now it's a link, but it's okay. We'll leave it like that. When I upload to YouTube, it's not going to care. Let's see, how do I make the page bigger? Okay, zoom in. Okay, perhaps I do take the font down a notch. There we go. So now it fits all together. So it's called MP4Box. Let's look at the name. Yeah, uppercase B. MP4Box URL. And let's go ahead and start saving this file. So it'll ask me for a location, and I will save it onto the D drive, and I will put it under this folder I have called screen capture, and I will call the document concatenate mp4. Okay, so now we have a file. So let's look at the page. It says the multimedia packager available in gpac is called mp4box. It can be used for performing many manipulations on multimedia files like AVI, MPG, TS, but mostly on ISO media files, e.g. MP4 3GP. I didn't know that MP4 container was considered an ISO file, but it can do a lot of things. And also you could probably use ffmpeg for a lot of these things, but the MP4Box syntax is a little simpler, so I like it better. So you can see that it gives us examples of how to use it, seam transcoding, etc., etc. But like I said, it's part of the gpac package. So if we click on the downloads link, well, I guess we'll have to click on gpac nightly builds. It's interesting how they continuously update their distribution and you know, do it daily, and so you end up with nightly builds. So let's see, current gpac is from April 2017, so you can check our nightly builds for development versions. Let's have a look, I'm curious. But let's say we're on Windows 64-bit in this case. There's also Windows 32-bit still, which is good because a lot of the things are disappearing for Windows 32-bit. Like a lot of the Linux distributions don't even give you the option of 32-bit Linux anymore. But if we click on Windows 64-bit, it would then try to download, but I'm not gonna go through the process of downloading and installing it because I've already done that. Okay, so I'm gonna cancel out of here, but let's have a look at the nightly builds page. Oh, it's not loading. I'm not going to worry about that. So gpac gets installed, and you can find it in your start menu. And let's see, if we scroll down, there is gpac. We open it up, and it's got, whoops. So it's got a video player of its own that it comes with, Osmo 4. I haven't really used it, and I don't know what it would be used for, but you see there is no command line option. So the software was installed, but it's not on the command line. So in fact, let's go ahead and open the command line. We can either right click on the start button and it gives us the option of command prompt. We don't need the admin privileges because we're not doing anything, we're just manipulating files. Or if instead Windows is showing you PowerShell here, which I've noticed for regular user accounts, you can always do the search, and this is the icon for Cortana. I configured my Windows so that it's not showing a search box all the time, but instead it's doing it as an icon, and now it's doing me a disservice because Windows is not responding. Okay, well, just like I was searching for WordPad, the same way you would search for the command line, it's just that you would type in cmd, and we can type that in here. Okay, so we type that in, save the file. So I'm going to do the right click and go to the command prompt. So there's the command prompt. So now we need to navigate to the directory. Screen capture videos, and if I do a dir, there's the files. Now I've already performed this step, but if you haven't and you type mp4box in the command line, it wouldn't show up, but in my case it shows up. Now the way I did it is I placed mp4box into the path. So first of all, you would need to go to your Windows drive, which is C drive in most cases, open up program files, and let's see, is gpac 64-bit or 32-bit? It might be 32-bit. So if it's 32-bit, we go to program files x86. I don't see gpac either. So the other way to find out where it is, we can scroll down in the menu and open up gpac, and then let's right click on this Osmo 4 player and select more and do open file location, and that way it will just take us to where it is. Oh, it's interesting, it's actually in program data. Oh, that's the shortcut that's in program data. So we right click on the shortcut, so there's actually a few more steps. So it's in program files gpac. Well, I was looking in there. Let's go back and have a look again. So C drive, program files. Oh, it's right there, gpac. So I didn't see it. And if we search within here and we type mp4, so we see mp4box.exe is in this directory. So we cancel the search results, and so then what you can do is you can click in the path bar here and right click and copy this value. Now the next step is to open the start menu, and in Windows 10 the control panel is kind of hidden a little bit. I've already added it to the start menu here, but you can scroll all the way down, and I'm sure there are shortcut keys for how to get to Windows. So we click on Windows System, and it's got control panel for us here this way. I believe on Windows 8 and 8.1 it's going to be the same way, but on Windows 7 control panel is going to be part of your start menu as a separate item. But whichever way you get, you can also search for it just like we did WordPad. So I'm going to start control panel, and we're going to go to System and Security, and we're going to go into System, and we're going to go into Advanced System Settings. And control panel, control panel is pretty much similar between Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, and Windows 10. Well, Windows 8 and 8.1 are retired, so if you're still using it, it's highly recommended that you upgrade to Windows 10, because I believe Microsoft has ended the life of Windows 8 and 8.1 and doesn't even provide security updates. So in this Advanced System Properties window that opens up, we click on Environment Variables, and there are two sections. There's a section that's only user specific and section that's system specific, and we can work with either one. You see there's a path in the user section, and there is a path in the system section, and of course the path in the system section is longer. But what you want to do is you want to add a new value, and you can call it whatever you want. So we call it gpac, and we add the location that we discovered where MP4Box lives. So, but I'm going to cancel out of it because, as you can see, I already have gpac in here. Then the next step is to click on the path variable and click edit and add gpac variable to the path. And this is going to be different on Windows 7. You're not going to get a window like that. You're going to get a window with a long string of all of the different locations separated with a semicolon. And so what you will want to do is you will want to go to the end of that string, put a semicolon on there if there isn't one, and then do %gpac% and click OK, and that will save it. So I already have gpac in here, but what I'm going to do is I just installed Cygwin, which is a collection of GNU open source utilities, and it goes onto C drive. Well, you can select where it's going to go, but in my case I opted for the default, and so I'm going to add Cygwin since we're in here. So, but I'm going to do it in two steps. First, I'm going to do a new value, and I'm going to type Cygwin and then variable value C:\Cygwin64. Click OK. Now I'm going to go to path and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to click on new, and like I said, in Windows 7 it's just going to be a long string separated by semicolons. And I'm going to type Cygwin %, and this is where it's going to be a little different because there is a bin directory in Cygwin where the executable files live, and so I add the bin directory. That's the common practice. You don't usually define the variable. So the %Cygwin% is kind of like the home directory of Cygwin, and bin is the subdirectory. So that's the common practice. That's the way you do it. But gpac didn't have a bin directory. It only had one single home directory where all the utilities live. You see, I also have ffmpeg installed on this computer, but we're not going to use it in this video. So I'm going to click OK, and click OK out of here. And we can close the control panel as well, because we're not going to need it anymore. So if you had a command window open already, you would want to exit out of it and open it up again. Okay, I'm going to do it with the right click. There we go. Command prompt. Do it with the right click. So when you open the command prompt again, that's when Windows is going to read the path value, and so it's going to find MP4Box that you've added to the system path. And in my case, I have now the Cygwin utilities there too, so I can use Unix or Linux commands, GNU commands. So for example, I'm interested to see if I've got the concatenate command, and yes, I do. So now we have to navigate to the window directory again. Videos, and when I press the tab, my webcam window disappears. So, but in case we use the dir command, and I have Cygwin installed, so I can even use ls command as well. So, but we'll use MP4Box. So MP4, and let me just show you. You can if you search concatenate MP4 with MP4Box, the very first link that Google returns to you is from a guy who posted a blog post, we should say, that gives you the examples of how to concatenate. So no, actually not. It's not from him. It's from the super user forum site, but it gives the same examples, and you see the mencoder utility is mentioned. Mencoder and ffmpeg are kinda similar. They both are used to convert video files, but they have multiple capabilities. But you can see that the mencoder command is a lot more complicated, which of course it could be that the second step that I'm going to demonstrate is not going to be needed if you use mencoder or ffmpeg. So maybe I'm missing out. So I'm going to type mp4box. I believe I can skip typing the exe part of it, and then I type -add and select the first file, vocoscreen1, and then I follow up with a -cat option to add vocoscreen2 mp4 and -cat vocoscreen 3.mp4. And now we need an output file, and I'm just gonna call it vocoscreen cat mp4. And so let's execute the command and see how it works. So it gives you a progress bar, and yes, it does say ISO media for the mp4. Well, there you go. There's something that I've learned today. And it's good that I selected those smaller files, because with bigger files, obviously it would be taking longer. It looks like it's got some kind of problem with vocoscreen 2 related to sound. Now I must add that when you concatenate MP4 files, they need to have the same format inside of it, meaning the video size, the video bitrate, the codec, and the audio bitrate, and the codec, and the sampling size all needs to be the same. So now if I do ls-l, I've got the vocoscreen_cat file, and you see that the file size is greater than any of these files, and if we add it up, it'll be similar to what we added up. So now if we go back to yeah, we have the Osmo properties still open, so we can close that, and we can close this Microsoft page too. Okay, there, it got rid of it. Okay, so we're here in Cygwin, but we're gonna go into screen capture. Oh, and I guess I can copy this command, and I think that copies it. Oh, and I guess I will write add gpac directory to the system path variable. See the video for details on how to do that. So in the command line, navigate to the folder with the videos. Remember to reopen the command line window for the path variable to take effect. And then example of the command is right here. and I forgot how to, I'll say in a similar way, the last file on the command line is the concatenated output file. Okay, so we save that. Now I want to go to the directory, and here's the file, and it says it's 1 hour and 51 minutes, but let's open it with VLC player. I don't really use Windows players very much, so I've been using VLC player for ages, so I can't really comment on how the Windows going to react. So we want to make the video smaller. I guess that's under video, zoom, and let's do a half. Is that going to be enough? No. Video, zoom, quarter. I've lowered the resolution on my Windows session so that the recording is not full. So you see there's a video recording there, and VLC actually reports to us 1 hour and 51 minutes. But what I found is when I concatenate files with MP4Box, that then I usually then want to recompress them, because, for example, if it's files from my I'm gonna pause that video. If it's files from my camcorder, then the bit rate is pretty high, and I want to recompress it into more reasonable bit rate, so that the file doesn't take as much space. And what I found is that when I use a video conversion utility, which I've been using Handbrake for the longest time, and I have it installed already. If you want to install it and learn it and to use it, I'm not gonna go through that in this video, but I am gonna open up Handbrake here and have a look at what it reports regarding the size of the file. Oh, there's my dog barking at hearing the neighbor dog barking. Okay, Windows is having a hard time doing all these operations at the same time. Unfinished items in the queue, would you like to recover those? No. I don't know what I was doing, but I don't care. So I'm gonna open the file. It's okay, girl. Select the concatenated file, click open, and Handbrake is going to process it. And like I said, Windows is having a little bit of a hard time. So, but there it is. Logo screen. There's the resolution, the frames per second, 3 audio tracks, and it does say that it's 1 hour and 51 minutes. But what I found is when I try to compress, recompile, recompress, re-encode, encode is the right word, yeah, re-encode the video into a different bit rate and maybe a smaller size too, and in the past the videos from mini DV cameras, they were interlaced. And in fact, I also use a Linux program called Myth TV to record movies and TV shows and cartoons off of the air, and those come across as MPEG-2 format, and oftentimes they're interlaced as well. So then you gotta recompile, and I want to recompile it into MPEG-2. It takes up a lot more space. I want to recompile into MP4. So what I found is that the encoding program would only encode up to the time limit of the first file that we concatenated. And at first I couldn't understand why that was happening, because like I said, I thought MP4Box was doing what we needed done, but it was happening. And so then I went looking for solutions, and on the forums a pretty old program called AviDemux has been mentioned, and this program has been around for a long time, but if we search for it, I don't think it has a page of its own. No, it does. Wait, it's on SourceForge. It's on SourceForge. But let's see if it's in a Windows installable package, or if it's just source code, because the second link is from Free OS Software Hub page, and I imagine that that one has a Windows package. But so what we need to do is we need to download AviDemux and process this concatenated file through it, and it's going to fix whatever the issue is for the encoders to not recognize all of the files that were concatenated. And if I understand it correctly, the MP4 container writes the header information at the end of the file, and so when you concatenate, I guess MP4Box doesn't really deal with those headers, which is strange because you would expect that it would do it. So AviDemux does have a page of its own. Let's copy the link and put it into let's insert it into the file here, and okay, we save that, and then we scroll down to where we at. Oh, that inserted in the wrong spot, so cut that out. And go at the end of past these commands and paste it in and save it. So has a downloads link, and let's have a look at it. Of course, if Windows is going to cooperate. Okay, so there's Linux source, Linux binaries, Windows 32-bit, Windows 64-bit, and it is FOSS-HOB, so really that second link was the correct link. So then it's going to be in your start menu, and you can either scroll down and open it up this way. I already pinned it to my start menu, but we can open it this way too. And mine says 64 bits because I am on 64-bit system, but yours might say 32-bit if you are still on a 32-bit system, which is fine. I have some old computers that are 32-bit and I run Linux on them. So once we're in AviDemux program, we're going to open that file, the concatenated file, and it's going to read through it. And once again, the reason for that, as I understand, is because the header is at the end. So the program needs to read the file first to get to the header, to find the header, to get information about the video and the audio streams that are inside of it. So we're basically not going to change any options. I'm kind of noticing that it's got LAV codec, but doesn't have many options. We're going to keep the video output as copy, audio output as copy. The output format you get to choose. You can do MP4. There's MP4 version 2 muxer. I don't know what the difference is. MPEG TS, that's the transport version. I think that's kind of what you get off the air when recording the you can do AVI. AVI used to be a pretty common container for videos, but nowadays everything is either MP4 or MKV. And in fact, that's what I'll do, is I'll choose the MKV container, and you know, there is not much that I need to choose. I could make sure that I enforce an aspect ratio, and for example, the camcorder that I have doesn't do the aspect ratio correctly. So I use MP4Box to change the aspect ratio of the videos before I can do the work on them. It basically writes information into the header. It doesn't recompile or transcode the files. What we're going to do now is we're going to transcode. AviDemux basically is going to read through the complete file, and it's going to read the video stream and the audio stream, and it's going to append them together in such a way that's not going to cause any problems. But let's see, let's try and select the 16 by 9 option here, because I know that that's from a 16 by 9. It's 1920 by 1080. And then what do? We video tools. Oh, we click on the save video button, and it takes us into the videos directory. Because I'm doing it as an Matroska container, the MKV, it gives us a different extension. So I'm gonna go ahead and click save, and there we go. The AviDemux starts working. As you can see, it is reading through the file, and this is called transcoding. So it's not re-encoding the videos, it's not changing the compression, it's not changing the bit rate, it's not changing the codecs. It is just reading through the file and reading the video streams and the audio streams, and writes them out into a new file, and that new file is going to have its own header that AviDemux is going to write, and that's going to make that file to be compliant, and it's going to work well in you know, in VLC, in Handbrake, in other encoding programs or players. In fact, we should try to play the concatenated video. So there, it finished, didn't take that long, and we've got a concatenated file. So let's actually try to play the MP4 file. The first video was 53 seconds. So let's see if VLC is actually gonna go past 53 seconds, or if it's going to stumble on the 53. Okay, come on Windows, you can do it. Okay, zoom, quarter size. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the audio on the player so that we don't hear the sound, and let's let it play. It reports as 1 hour, but let's see if it's going to stop after 53 seconds or if it's gonna continue on. 45 seconds, 46, 47, 49, 50. And maybe that problem no longer exists, and yeah, it's got 54, 55. It's going on, and I can click fast forward and it is able to access that file. So maybe that problem doesn't exist anymore, and maybe the AviDemux step is no longer needed. And in fact, I'm gonna add oh, our font has changed. Okay, so there we go. So that's the main method that I've been using, and so now I have an NKV file, which interestingly enough is reporting 1 hour and 49 seconds instead of 1 hour and 51 seconds. And it's also not associated with VLC, but I'm gonna go ahead and open it with VLC Media Player. I can change that setting in Windows later. But audio is turned off, video didn't start playing yet, so I can't. Okay, oh come on, give me the zoom value. Video, zoom, quarter of the size, and yeah, it says 1 hour and 48 seconds. And but we can also fast forward in this file just as well. And you see this was a recording done on Linux. What you see in the background is Debian, and I've been playing around with a QEMU virtual machine manipulator. But notice that the MKV file that we ended up with is smaller in size than the concatenated MP4 file. You know, the by about 1 megabyte. So there is some kind of extra information in the MP4Box concatenated MP4 container, and that's the information that might be tripping things up. Now I want to try another method, and that method involves using the concatenate command from the GNU utilities, but you need to have Cygwin installed for that. And I'm not going to describe to you how. Well, actually it's really simple. You just go to the Cygwin webpage, which I have it open right here. Okay, and we'll add Okay, and I'll insert the web page link. So yeah, so you search for Cygwin and you find it, and it's got a section called installing Cygwin, and you've got the 64-bit version and the 32-bit version. You download it, you install it, and then once again, if you want it to be available on the command line, you would have to go through the control panel and add it to the system path, or you can add it to the user path. It's just that then it's not going to be available to other users on your PC, which I guess the most common scenario is that the PCs have only one user anyway. But I want to try to use the cat command and see if that will result in a... So cat command is pretty simple. You just list the files on it, and I could even do an asterisk instead of explicitly, so that's more convenient for multiple files. In this case we have only 3 files, so it's not that bad. But if we had 10 files, 20 files, maybe hundreds of files, then we need to use scripting language to invoke MP4Box and feed the parameters correctly. But the concatenate command spits out the output onto the standard output, so basically we would see gibberish scrolling really fast on the screen, but we're gonna redirect the output into a file, and we give a name to the file. So let's press enter, and that didn't take very long. So now I'm curious. So the file size for the GNU concatenated file is even larger than the file size of the MP4Box. So there is extra information. So we've got those headers in the GNU concatenated file, so which I can probably see in VLC player. So let's change the zoom. Yes, it's reporting 53 seconds. So this is not a way to concatenate the file, but let's try and see if we can use AviDemux to fix this file and re-transcode it, if it's going to be able to handle it. So you see it's going to go only to 53 seconds here. So you don't have to wait for that, and just trust VLC that it knows what it's talking about. So I'm going to close it. So let's go back to AviDemux and see if it can process this concatenated file, if it can transcode it. So we open the file, open, and it places us in the right directory, so we click open. So it's reading the file. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, it's reporting 53 seconds. So we'll keep copy. We'll do mkv muxer. Well, we don't have to do this step at all, so I'm going to cancel out of it. So now I'm going to select save file, and it's going to do the mkv extension on it, so that's fine. So let's see what's going to happen. Wow, that was really fast. So this method doesn't work, and I just thought of it. I never tried it before. So yeah, we ended up with 3 megabyte file, 2813 versus 2867. So I guess the mkv file container is just a little bit more efficient than the MP4 one. But in any case, using MP4Box is a convenient way to concatenate the MP4 files. And like I said, it could be that it's no longer necessary to transcode the or I should say differently. Okay, so I think that is it for now. This is what I know about concatenating MP4 files. I don't know about MKV files, you would have to Google that, but most of the cameras, I imagine, record in MP4 format. And like I said, as long as the files are the same codec, same refresh rate, same bit rate, same audio codec, sampling frequency, compression rate, and all of that, as long as it's files from the same source. Like, for example, I'm using the screencasting software called Bandicam, and if you use the trial version of it, it only lets you record 10 minutes. So if you're trying to record a screencast of you doing something or playing a game with Bandicam with the trial version, you would get 10 minutes, and then you need to record another 10 minutes and another 10 minutes. So you would end up with multiple MP4 files, and then you do need to concatenate them. So that's it for now. That's what I know about concatenating files. So I'm gonna say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video if I think of something useful that I can share with the community. Okay, bye bye.